Hey, everybody. We have like some folks trickling in, so we'll get started in just a second. But if everyone wants to just make sure that their name is on their Zoom, screen, that it's helpful. But thanks so much for joining us. We're so excited. I wasn't able to be here last month. Chelsea and I were in Harrisonburg at JMU talking to some design students, which was, I don't know, sort of similar to the situation, but it was a good time. But we're excited that everybody's coming back and hanging out. This is technically our last Clubhouse of 2021, which is kind of weird to think about how close 2022 is. But if you are unfamiliar or haven't been here with us yet, the Clubhouse is just an opportunity for us to talk about all things design and what it's like to work in the design industry and ask each other questions and just have an opportunity to make community with each other a little bit more, especially across discipline. So yeah, before we dive in, I think probably our next Clubhouse will probably skip January since it'll kind of fall like right at the very beginning of the month and everybody will just be coming back from the holidays. But we've been talking to the folks at Richmond Ad Club about maybe doing an in-person Clubhouse for February. So that would be a cool event, and we'll definitely, we'll put that on social and everything to let you guys know. But Ad Club is an open event, so anybody can come to those events. It doesn't necessarily have to be people in the ad agent or ad world. So that would be fun. We're thinking about doing that. What else am I forgetting? So we'll start by kind of having everybody go around and say their name, where you're calling from, and maybe what industry you're in. We'll start maybe with the Campfire team, but also would love for you guys to drop in the chat a little bit more about you. So maybe like the name of your company, a brief description of what you do, maybe a social handle or LinkedIn or email address, website, something like that. So we can all sort of stay in touch and follow each other. But I'll kick it off. I'm Christy with Campfire Co. I'm here in Richmond at my house. And obviously Campfire, we are in a couple different industries. If you guys aren't familiar, but we play in the worlds of graphic, web, and interior design for a number of different industries. And then I'll let my team introduce themselves, and then maybe whoever finishes can just call on someone else to go next. Chelsea, why don't you go?
Yeah, do you want me to? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea. I'm also with Campfire Co. I'm a designer for them. Super fun, but nice to meet you all or see some familiar faces. I'll pass the torch to Lauren.
Hey guys, I'm Lauren. I am in my car outside of our office that's being renovated. Had some meetings here today. But I am one of the co-founders of Campfire and excited to see you all. Payshawn, I'll let you go.
Okay, awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Payshawn. I am a designer as well here on the Campfire team. I'm excited to see you all. I do see some familiar faces, so it's really glad to have you all back. Excited for the discussion today. Rachel.
Yeah, I am Rachel Hallett. I am on the interior side at Campfire Co. I've been with Campfire for a little over 2 years now, and I am obviously here in Richmond, which is where Campfire is based, and super excited about our kind of final, virtual version of the Clubhouse, and looking forward to the future in-person one. And yeah, so we'll open it up to the rest of the population beyond Campfire. I'm gonna call out, hopefully he can unmute at some point, but Justin, who is my friend that popped in here, excited to say hi. Are you there? No mic, no mic. Okay, you're good. I'll tell you who he is. Justin is calling in from Colorado. He's an architect. We went to school together in Oklahoma, and he was talking about social media in his office today and saw our post on LinkedIn that we're talking social today. So boom, here he is. He will absorb rather than
Awesome. Justin, you want to drop like your business name or website in the chat? And everybody else can do that too if you guys want.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'll bounce it to someone else then. What about Abby?
Hi, my name is Abby Barris. I'm an interior designer, also based here in Richmond. I focus primarily on faith-based and nonprofit spaces. So that's what I do.
Jackie, you want to?
I'm supposed to kick it over to someone else. Sorry.
That's okay. No problem.
How about Maggie?
Hi, I'm Maggie Schubert. I am just west of Richmond, Virginia, in Mannequin Sabbath. Used to live in Richmond, but moved out to Mannequin in January. I am an architect and recently started my own company called Chestnut Knoll Studio, mainly focusing on residential design. And I will take it off to Jackie.
Hi, I'm Jackie Parks. I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Cool.
But I went to VCU and I'm an interior designer. I used to work at Hanbury in Norfolk, and I've been in Pennsylvania for 6 years. And I also am doing all the marketing for my architecture firm I work for. So I've been doing both interiors and marketing. I'm the only person in the office that even uses social media. So yeah, I'm sure I'll learn a lot today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. That's great.
Oh, and Katie, you're next.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm here with Justin from Bryant Flink. I'm one of the designers, but we're just starting up the social media. So Justin kind of led me here. I'll put the Instagram and some of them back up, but we haven't really started. It'll just kind of be a leading off point. Probably January will be a really good time to see some of our projects though.
Oh, welcome. All right.
Derek, you want to wrap us up?
Yep. My name is Derek. I work for a software development company here in Richmond called Simple Thread. I think some of you guys.
Oh, sweet.
Yep. And I do user interface and user experience design for them.
Very cool. I feel like we have a couple friends over at Simple Thread. Sweet. Well, thanks so much for joining us. If you guys haven't joined us in the past, today's conversation is really casual. We don't necessarily, I have some stuff I'd love to talk about, but I don't have a presentation. This is really meant to be an open discussion. So one of the things I thought we might start with is basically just kind of go around the room and see like what tactics or platforms have you guys seen the most traction with? Like what for you has been working? And I'll just kind of kick it off. For Campfire, we found that kind of honing in on one or two platforms at the most has really been a successful sort of social strategy for us. Trying to do too many things in too many places was basically just overwhelming, and we weren't really getting the traction that we wanted. And so we really kind of just doubled down on Instagram at first, and then more recently have been kind of expanding into trying to play a little bit more with LinkedIn. But for us, I would say the biggest sort of, aha moment for me, at least, to kind of get a little bit more traction and with our consistency was to create a really strong pattern for how we use Instagram. So it allows us to do some pre-planning and think about what our long-term sort of feed is going to look like. And that was kind of just a moment that really kind of helped me get a little bit better at being sort of consistent, posting on the regular, knowing what to say, knowing what photos we were going to do. And before that, I would say we kind of were we would have like spurts of success, and then it would be kind of quiet, and then we'd have a little bit of success. And at this point, I think really kind of using a pattern within Instagram has been something that we've seen a lot of traction with. But curious to know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, before you pop over, Christy, can you mention the tool you use for that, Planoly?
Yeah, we have a social or like an Instagram planner. Basically, it's not a full social planner; it's just for Instagram. But it's called Planoly. It's Planoly, and there's a number of different schedulers and planners out there for social media. But for us, being in the design industry, we really wanted we cared a lot about what it looked like in addition to like what the content strategy was, right? And so a lot of the other planners don't necessarily show you what your feed is going to look like. And so that was a really important thing to us. And we had honestly kind of spin our wheels a little bit. We used to like make sample ones in Illustrator and stuff. That just took so long. And then finally I was like, I just need to find a tool that does this for us. And I would say we've had a lot of success with that. It helps the team to like, if, for instance, I was on vacation the other week and like Vaishon was able to pick up what we had planned for social and post everything and sort of knew what we were trying to do. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say one other thing related to Planoly is they do also offer a lot of kind of like webinars very similar to this that like focus on different topics. Like I attended a couple of them kind of talking about like brand voice or like ways to optimize, like starting to use reels, like they're starting to like incorporate that more. And so there's also like all these other resources that they provide that like, you know, if you want to kind of like dive a little bit deeper, like understand how to use that. I think that is like another great ad for them. Not that this is like a Planoly like advertisement, but
we should get a kickback. Should have put an affiliate link.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do.
But do you guys have any tools? Go ahead.
Sorry, I use that for one of my accounts. Have y'all ever used the part where you can plan out for the stories, or do y'all just use it for the post?
I haven't tried the story planner yet. And I think honestly, if I were to say like an area that I think we could grow a little bit in terms of being like a little bit more strategic, a little bit more consistent, would absolutely be stories. Like I think right now stories for us are usually pretty like sort of like responsive. Like I'm responding to something else somebody else is doing on Instagram and then sharing it through stories, or it's like more of like a real time kind of like we're doing an event or we're going somewhere and we might share. But in terms of thinking about like, okay, we want to have 1 to 2 stories a week or something, which I actually think is probably what we should be doing. It's not something I've dabbled in yet, but I very much would like to. And I think it's probably a missed opportunity. I was reading like email. I don't know if any of you guys follow the company, The Future. It's like Future without an E. Chris Doe is like the sort of lead designer there, and he's like was a really successful graphic designer and branding designer who now basically has a company where they just do education for designers. And they were talking about how basically Instagram stories are kind of like the most useful part of the platform right now. So I would very much like to do more of that. Has anybody else done any like scheduling of stories, or do you guys pre-plan that stuff, or what do you all do with stories?
Like you can use another app is what is it, Unfold is like another one. That one's like if you're wanting to like visually plan out, like make a story, I think that works pretty well. I've dabbled in the Planoly one, but I've like not found it. I think I haven't like tried hard enough on it, to be honest, but I wasn't finding it like as intuitive or like as useful as I was hoping for. Maybe they're just like still working on it, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a tricky one. Planning stories is hard.
Do you all find that, like any of you all, especially like freelancers and stuff, do you all find that you're getting direct leads from Instagram? Do people reach out to you and say like, I found you on Instagram? Has that happened to anybody? Nope.
I mean, I feel like I have maybe through social media and the website, but generally speaking, I'm pretty sporadic about it. So like I need to be more rigorous and have like a plan. Like it's really kind of reactionary, or I'm like, oh, this is cool, I'm going to share this, where I really don't have it planned out and or choreographed. And I was like, I need to get, so when you guys were going to talk about this, I was like, this is exactly what I need right now.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things that it's a channel that I feel like is for designers. I would say, especially for residential designers, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for like direct leads to be coming from Instagram. The fact that we work with basically all commercial, clients, I think that it's a little bit more like soft marketing for us. It's a little bit more of like a long-term scenario. I feel like people go to our Instagram to sort of be reminded that we're a legitimate company and to sort of see like an extended or sort of expanded portfolio. but occasionally we will get inquiries of folks who said that they found us on Instagram, or like somebody else posted about us, or, maybe it's someone who had already heard of us and then Instagram sort of reminds them about us. But I would say we're not getting a ton of like super direct, like I discovered you on Instagram leads. But I think that can be the nature of like design, where, it's not like buying like a $30 t-shirt or something, it's like a heavier investment. And I think usually people are looking for through a lot of different angles. They're not just hiring from like social media.
I've been doing the Instagram for my office. It's called Spillman Farmer Architects. I forgot to say that earlier. For 2 years. And I think we've doubled the number of followers, but I don't think we've gotten any direct leads. But every time someone follows us who's not already a rep or someone in the industry or another architect, I tell the partners and the other business development people and be like, hey, go when you're out and about, this person is following us now. So you could like mention that, or I don't know, like they were paying attention. So it's a business tactic that I'm trying to stay on top of. But I post pretty sporadically. I mean, sometimes it's like 3 times a week for a month, and then I haven't posted it in like 2 months. So
I think one thing
I feel you. Go for it, Rachel.
I was gonna say one thing that I think Campfire does that's slightly unique, or at least I hadn't experienced this before, like coming from my last office, is, and I think it takes kind of a certain scale of office to do this, but so at Campfire, so we're a 6-person team, and all of us have access to the Campfire Instagram account. It's all loaded into our Instagram. We all are like consistently, I mean, Christy like leads it and like manages the feed, but like the stories are like open for all of us to be like messaging people, like posting stuff when we're out at an event, like helping her like stuff, comment on things. And so it kind of spreads out the work and makes it not feel as, I'm assuming not feel as exhausting for Christy, because like as opposed to it all bearing on her shoulders, like we're able to just like be in there like helping her. And I think that's probably not like the best thing for every company. Like we're all a very like, because we all are designers in the company and are a smaller team and all kind of like have a slightly more natural affinity, I think, for social media, it works. But I think that's definitely like something to try out, is like not just having a single person. Like you need to have a plan so that there's consistency, but helping spread out that like pressure, I think is probably makes a big difference, because burnout is like real with social media.
Yeah. I mean, I would just add to that, when I was at SMBW, we were a 16-person firm, so that was a lot more people than just me, but we had like 2 or 3 people that were like in control of Instagram. And then we had like at SMBW, like whenever somebody else was doing a story, it was their like personal story, then SMBW would then share it. So it was like an additional way to have content. And then it also reached like, and then they would reshare it. And so it would kind of cross-pollinate kind of those groups. So it can be like direct access to Instagram, or it could be like tagging.
Definitely. I think that's a really good point. And one that we try to do a lot too. I feel like anytime we can tag someone or vice versa, we get so much more traction out of those posts when there's like a lot of folks who just more people end up seeing it, which is always really helpful.
I have a question about Planoly. Does it cost something? Yes.
There's a free version. So we use the free version for, I think I probably used it for a year before I paid for it. And then I think I started paying for it related to some like analytics, or there's some feature that I wanted to use. But it's really inexpensive. Like, I don't know, it's like less than $10 a month or something. And so, I mean, in the grand scheme of like, company paying for a program, it's pretty inexpensive. I think some of the other ones are like $30 a month or something. It's definitely not that much.
Yeah, I assume it's analytics, but the other feature a paid version unlocks is you can plan more than 30 feed posts a month, but like you're probably not going to have more than like one a day. Like it's kind of a lot. So that's like the other kind of limitation.
Yeah, so since we don't use any planning, it's all been like elbow grease on my part to like imagine what the grid is going to look like, and anticipate every third post has to be this topic in order for it to line up. And it's been fine, but my office is really uptight about social media, and they want everything to be like perfect. And so the stories is where I kind of try to post more informal stuff, but because it's really hard for my boss to approve everything that I do ahead of time before I post it, I have another account. It's like a testing account, and only she follows it. So I do the post once and she looks at it, how you'd see it on Instagram.
Huh.
And then when she says, yes, it's okay, then I just post it again. I don't repost it, but I post it again on the main Spellman Farmer one.
I mean, that's really clever. And if you're already doing that planning information, I feel like the one nice thing about Planoly is it would let you pre-plan multiple posts, right? Instead of just like one at a time. But that's really clever, kind of being able to get to see it like in how it's actually exactly going to look. I think one of the things, go ahead.
Well, Planoly, you can post from your computer, right?
There are certain posts that they will do auto posting. It kind of, there's some limitations on like size of the image, like ratio of the image and stuff. I think there's like, if you want something really tall or really wide, like it won't auto post. And one of the things we ran into recently is that we switched our account from a business account to a content creator account. And the only reason we did that is because we wanted to start doing reels. And the only way that you can add basically, copyrighted music to your reels is to not be a business account on Instagram. So you can be a content creator, which still allows you to get like analytics and all of those things that you got as a business account. But the thing that happens when you do that I realized recently is that Planoly will not auto post for you if you are not a business account. So even if you're a content creator, it won't auto post, which was just like a hiccup that we ran into when I was like, I was pre-planning before my vacation and was like, JK Vaishon, you got to post all these for me because the app won't do it. So that's kind of, it's not that hard to switch back and forth between like the content creator and whatever else, but they will take away, they won't let you do basically good music on your reels if you're a business account, which is sort of like a frustrating scenario.
Yeah.
Has anybody else?
I figured out how to do reels. Like,
okay.
Good.
Has anybody else done any, or like, how did that go? What did you post about, and did you get good reaction? Jackie, did you have a specific reel that you posted?
Let's see. So I've been posting more of my personal reels for practice.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm getting much better at editing them in Instagram. Or I use Splice, the free version of Splice, to edit in my phone directly. But before I was more savvy with my phone, I was using the Adobe Creative Suite's
Adobe
Premiere for the video editing, which is more sophisticated, and it's for my office, so I don't have to pay for that.
I found Splice is great for video editing. It's super easy and fast.
So I've posted 12 reels in the past 6 months, and it's very interesting because if I post a video, then we only have maybe like 200 or 300 views, but the reels get 1,500 views. So we have a farther reach, which is, I knew that from like researching Instagram, that reels, they were like pushing that. And so people were discovering you that way, but they wouldn't discover you any other way anymore. So yeah, it's very difficult. How do you tell a story about architecture? How do you sum up an entire project that takes 3 years that nobody's documenting anything? And so I've just done some like rendering to reality versions. We had a office picnic, so I just took videos of everyone at the picnic and then posted it. And it is really fun to pick the songs. So I already had made it a content creator.
Cool.
But there weren't even a lot of examples to look for from architecture firms with reels.
I totally agree. I did a lot of research too. I took a little class, and this woman was kind of saying, do some research and see what other people in your industry are doing. And I agree. I think the design industry is not utilizing that feature very much on social, which I think just provides a lot of opportunity for folks who are going to kind of like adopt that early on. We've had, I would say, kind of like mixed success with reels. Like we've done more sort of like, I don't know, kind of like one person and like just sort of like Rachel did a cute one where like we had little, text graphics popping up, and that one did pretty well. And then Vaishon did a really fun one of like his morning routine, and that one performed really well. And then we just did one that was kind of like a compilation of like a tour of an office that we designed, and that one's performing super well. And so I think for interiors work, like tour videos, befores and afters and stuff, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I haven't quite wrapped my head around how we are going to utilize it for more like 2D design, like graphics and web stuff. I'm not really sure if it's like going to work for that particular design.
I feel like there could be, I mean, Vaishon, can speak to this, like part of, like the process and like the illustration process, like you have a lot of experience of like editing videos that way. I think it's just, like figuring out the right mix can be a little tricky.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and
figuring out the right mix. Yeah, and just also, keeping it on brand and on par with, how we want to present our work and what we're doing. And I feel like sometimes when it comes to designing, the forethought of like posting it, it kind of gets lost because you have to record yourself, or you want to do time lapses or screen shares or whatnot. So that's just something that can kind of get tripped up on, especially if the process takes a little bit longer. And it's like, oh, I got to go back to 3 months of content and then create this video. But being able to plan and have forethought into that, I feel like can be a little bit more difficult versus like doing, interior shot or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you only have
I
up
think
to a
the
minute,
forethought is
so
hard. Go ahead.
You only have up to a minute, so it's difficult to like put everything in a minute, but it also like limits you to what content you could even put in there to begin with. So it's kind of the more you do it, the easier it gets, I think.
For sure. We did an Instagram live yesterday with our PR consultant, and that was really fun. And I sort of forgot how much I liked doing Instagram lives. That was something I hadn't really done in a while. And it was so easy. We just like had a conversation and like did a little Q&A, and it was a lot of fun. And you're obviously not limited in a time frame. And so it was more just like a little live video. And I think we maybe did it for like about 30 minutes. And it really sparked an idea of like, wow, that was cool. They basically do a series where they interview like their clients, and kind of do like expert in the field and ask questions and stuff. And I was kind of like, oh, I think I'm going to steal that idea and like just interview our clients. Like, I think people would really enjoy that, to be like, to have a little Q&A with like local business owners. I think that could be really fun. And then obviously like the company that you would interview would sort of get that, they would share it, and you'd get, sort of the cross promotion from that angle. But it was shockingly easy to like set up, do the Q&A, 30 minutes, done. It was way easier than like planning out a whole video and editing, you know what I mean? It was pretty simple in terms of like creating some interesting content. I was thinking about adding that to our idea list. Are you guys using any other platforms that you feel like you're getting good traction on, whether that's like, other social, LinkedIn, or you guys send email newsletters? Like, are there any other sort of tools that you all use to stay in touch with your audience?
We use Twitter and LinkedIn in addition to Instagram. I think Instagram probably gets the most traction overall, but I think we have gotten, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 direct opportunities out of LinkedIn. And Twitter, we have found recently, we've been doing, we've got a couple different things that we do like once a week. So one of them is I think we're calling it a product inspiration post. So it's just quotes from other people about various and sundry things that all kind of tie back into what we're doing. But we've realized that when you do a quote from someone that's alive and on Twitter and you link to them, they actually typically respond and you get a lot more views. So that's been super helpful recently.
Cool. I feel like I'm blanking on his name, but the Simple Thread founder. Justin, yeah, I follow him on LinkedIn, and he's super active. I feel like is always posting stuff, and I feel like he was even talking about how he had a post kind of go viral recently, which was cool.
Yeah, we had a blog post that we tend to post our technical stuff on a site called Hacker News, and he did a post about like things he wished he'd learned over 20 years of being in the industry, and that went really well. But we we, in the past couple months, we've hired a social media manager, outside consultant kind of person. And she's been helping us. Basically, we, instead of, or for our scheduling, we use a system called Hey Orca, which has been really nice to use, because you can schedule everything from there. It's got a nice calendar view. Like she sets them up, and then we review to make sure that they are, you know, up to snuff graphics wise, or if there's anything that we need to change. But it's just really nice that we typically only schedule a week in advance, but you can schedule pretty far in advance with that, and it hits all of the different social media platforms that we use. So it's been really helpful.
That's cool. And that was definitely a question I had for everyone. If you guys had like, I mean, sometimes, especially as small businesses, it can be really sort of scary to hire consultants, you know, to start actually really like putting some money towards these things. But at the same time, we found that you just can't do everything, especially with a small team, and to sort of hire out, not only just to be able to execute the work, but also to be able to execute it at a really high strategic level. Are you guys, do you feel like that was a good call? Are you feeling like that was a good investment to sort of have outside perspective on that?
Absolutely. We don't know what we're doing with social media. So they've been super helpful. And it's also just like, it's nice because we've been able to kind of expand the group of people that are involved. So like you were saying, it's not just one person that's responsible for all of this. We've got our manager who's actually making sure that everything is posted on time and scheduled properly. But then we have a weekly call where it's a good chunk of our design team. There's at least 3 of us, our salesperson and our marketing manager. And it's just helpful to be able to come up with ideas, not just for that upcoming week, but to kind of plan out further ahead with that. It's been good.
Definitely. I feel like we like dabble in, you know, hiring outside consultants for different aspects of our company. And I feel like every time we do it, we always like after a couple months are like, man, we should have done that like 2 years ago. Basically. It always ends up being like so helpful, just in terms of, honestly, I feel like a huge part of it is just outside perspective of like, you've been in it, thinking about it in the trenches. And it's so hard, I think, especially when you're thinking about content creation and sort of like trying to articulate, okay, like what about this is interesting to people, right? Because like you think you know what's interesting, but you also think you know what is sort of like not interesting. And oftentimes I'm always surprised by the aspects of our business or our process or our work that are super interesting to people, that because we do it every day, we sort of forget that it's unique or interesting or, you know, content worthy. And I feel like having outside perspective on that can really help. This year, for the first time, we hired a PR team to help us get press for our work. And a big piece of that was just because we had kind of been doing it in-house, like trying to, you know, sort of promote our work, and just sort of realized like we didn't really have the expertise or the bandwidth required to get the kind of press that we wanted. And that was a really cool, eye-opening, fun experience this year, getting to work with folks who like that is their expertise, that's their bread and butter. I feel like we've learned a lot about what kind of things get press, and that sort of like helped us realize sort of where to put our effort sometimes. But after working with them for a couple of months, we've managed to like get some press that we're really excited about. And so I feel like it was sort of helpful because in the design industry, I feel like I always look at like other people getting press and I'm like, how did they do that? Like, how did someone pick that up? How did someone find that, you know? And like the answer is like, they paid somebody to pitch it. I mean, at least that's my perspective.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, are they also helping with like, so in the design industry, like award submissions and things like that, are they doing that kind of work for you also? Or is it really just kind of getting out the projects into the press?
Yeah, I think like, I know a conversation I had with one of our architect partners in Norfolk. I know that there are people that help with submission or with awards, like specifically consultants who will like help you get national awards, which I didn't know that was a thing previously, but apparently there are people that do that. But our specific consultant was really just focused on helping us get some of our bigger interiors work published in like sort of national, you know, blogs and publications. That we didn't really, we felt like sort of local news kind of happened organically. We didn't really want to focus on that. And that was kind of like sort of an effort to sort of divide and figure out like what is the most valuable part of like using them as a support. And that was the biggest piece that we wanted, that we felt like we couldn't get ourselves. So we do all of our own award submissions, but it's been an interesting thing. We've submitted for some architecture awards this year for the first time that usually we only submit for interior design awards. And I would say that's been a little bit of an eye-opening experience. I feel like the things that architect associations tend to sort of value in the submissions is a little bit different, I think, than sort of maybe some of the other stuff that we put together. So that's been a little bit of a learning curve for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, I feel like, I don't know if you guys are feeling this, but for us, it felt like October was like the first month where every single networking group was like, we're doing events in person again. I feel like we went to like 10 different events in October. And are you guys going back out there? Are you getting back into networking? And if so, are there associations or groups or events that you guys find more or less valuable for the work that we all do?
I guess I'll start. I'm involved. I'm on the Modern Richmond board here in Richmond, where we promote modern architecture. And like we've done everything really virtual this past year, and we really kind of had a big kind of pause when COVID first hit. But we're really planning next year in person and hoping that it all works out. So we haven't done anything in person really yet, but we're going to start kicking that off in January, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So we'll see how
I feel
it goes.
I feel like the Modern Richmond virtual events seemed really successful though. Like you guys had a lot of people come to them.
Yeah, no, they have been really successful. And like the most recent one, we partnered with the ICA. And so that was just really awesome because they also keep it on YouTube. So it's like still getting traction. So as opposed to something where we would have like a Zoom and you had to sign in, it was a free virtual event that like the first night got, I don't know how many views, and then it's like doubled since then. So it's interesting to see the different platforms of that, how that affected the events virtually.
Yeah, we've been trying to do more of that where any type of virtual event like this, we record it and then put it on YouTube. And I would say like it's still a small group of people that end up finding it and watching it, but it's nice to have that archive and then to sort of show people that you're out there, you know, sharing your expertise and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Modern Richmond's done with all of the ones that I think they've put them in on Vimeo, but they're just on our website. So it's not really like something that people find or share or see as much, but like it is a huge resource. And we've been talking about like creating an archive of all of our past tours. So much like the Modern Richmond book that we did, which I think did help get us some traction as like a physical object. But we've also, I'm not as involved in the marketing for that, but we've been doing a lot more social media posting and being a lot more strategic on that. Doing like Modern Mondays and I forget Feature Fridays. So we're kind of starting to have like the themes of the day. So
that's great.
We run a small JavaScript conference here in Richmond that obviously has been on hold for a little while. But I think we are planning on at least starting that back up. So that's getting rolling.
That's awesome. I love that like basically both of you guys are like, yeah, the way I network is I just like host the events that I want to go to, because we're totally the same way. I feel like a lot of times we get sort of disappointed by either like the formality of events or the, I don't know, chaotic nature or the, you know, lower quality snacks or whatever it is like. And so we just ended up hosting a lot of our own events. I think we've really been missing that during the past like 2 years, not really being able to host in-person stuff. And right now our office is under renovation, but we're really hoping to dive back into hosting in-person events in our office next year, hopefully. Does anybody have any local stuff that they're kind of like, they like going to, that they found value in terms of networking?
Another organization that I'm a part of is Women in Design, which is here in Richmond, which they've actually started doing some in-person things. I think we had like just an outdoor cocktail thing back in August, which it was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this many people in one place for a long time. But they have a holiday party and it's a really great group of women, and also sometimes guys come too, but I think next week is their holiday party. So that's always a good group for networking. And then also they usually have a lot of great like content speakers or panel discussions or things like that.
Yeah, I always prefer like a networking event that has some type of programming. I feel like just going to an event that's like only networking is just so intimidating. Even if you're an outgoing person, it's just like it's kind of exhausting to spend like a whole hour plus just like meeting new people without any kind of like, okay, somebody just tell me something so I can just like pause for like 5 minutes.
Or like have an activity. Like I remember there was a holiday party years ago where it was like wreath making. So like you kind of had something you could do, but then you could also like socialize and it wasn't like so in your face. Yeah, definitely content's important.
Yeah.
I'm so homesick because there's nothing good happening in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
I miss Virginia so much. So here we have the Chamber of Commerce rules everything up here. So any event, everyone's going to that. And so I think my office, that the partners have had success networking through the chamber events. And then there's crew here, commercial women in real estate. So that's it. That's about it. But the ASAD and IIBA, they're in Philly, so we're over an hour away from that. And then the AIA chapter is really boring. So
yeah.
Another one for specifically for women in the Richmond area, and they have chapters elsewhere, somewhere else is Rebel. I've been to a couple of their events. It's a membership kind of based thing, but their events are often, maybe always, open to the public, to buy tickets. There's usually a cost associated with it, but there's like member and non-member pricing, but it's a pretty diverse group. There's people from a lot of different industries and people who are really energetic and passionate and really kind of going after things. So I've enjoyed some of those.
Were you at the conference in November? No, you didn't go. Okay. Okay. I got a chance to go to that one and that was really great. I feel like the content that they have or like programming that they have at those events always blows me away. And I really appreciate that it's not just like sit around and have a cocktail and drink and talk to people, that you're also like hearing from, someone and speaking, and that's always really nice.
I would say one thing I've really started liking that, Christy mentioned that we had this big like resurgence of going to events. And I feel like Christy and I went to a couple, I guess it was maybe October. And kind of out of that, standing around talking to people awkwardly, like shimmying up next to someone, like, what do you do? And then we kind of were like, let's pivot to like some other strategies for a minute. And so we started just setting up more like coffee meetups and lunches with people that we like admired and are like, it just like feels a lot more like meaningful and more intentional. And
totally,
I'm not sure if there's been any like direct, like, I mean, we only just started recently doing this, but I feel like there's going to be potentially a lot more like direct, possible projects of like creating these relationships. We're meeting with architects and like other consultants that like have like compatible, like, complementary industry for us that we could be like a partner on, or like they could help send clients our way and vice versa. And I've actually really enjoyed kind of like doing that process because it just feels like, let's go grab lunch with these people, and more enjoyable versus standing in a large room of a lot of people.
Totally.
I guess too.
Yeah, it's like more strategic. It's more COVID friendly, and I think it's more meaningful. I think that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Rachel, because I think that's something I'm always trying to do, or we're always trying to do more of. And it's nice that we can at least kind of have those like coffee dates in persons and stuff, because it's hard. It's really, really hard to do that stuff virtual. Like people just don't have the bandwidth for it, or sort of like I think like energy for it. But kind of coming up with a short list of people. I feel like we kind of talked about, maybe Rachel and I have been sort of brainstorming on this for Campfire, of like, okay, maybe we meet quarterly and we come up with a list of like 5 people that we want to have coffee with or lunch with over the next, 6 to 10, 12 weeks. And it it's really nice. I think people are always like really into it. It's a lot easier, and especially kind of just like keeping that list manageable. I feel like sometimes in the past I've created a list of like, here's like 50 people I want to know, and it's just like overwhelming. But I feel like having a list of like less than 10 is like, okay, I can email those people, and I actually will probably do it. And I feel like the more you do it, the less intimidating it feels. In the beginning, it can feel even just intimidating to write like a cold email, especially to like someone you really want to collaborate with, or like someone you admire, like a potential client or something like that. But the more we do it, the more it just is kind of like, oh yeah, this is great. This is how we just meet people, make connections, have a good time. It can be really relaxed and casual. And I feel like for us, because that's so much of like our working style, it's a really great way for people to sort of get to know what it is like to potentially work with us just by hanging out.
Yeah, it seems like even the ones that I've gone on with you, a lot of times the people are like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to you too. Like, it's like, why are we all just like sitting around here like nervous to write this email? It's like, no, I wanted to talk to you too. I mean, that's not always going to be the case, obviously, but it definitely has been not as uncomfortable as you would kind of expect.
I'm so glad you guys are talking about this, because I've given my office this suggestion multiple times and they look at me like I'm crazy, but they're also all introverted. So now I can bring to them like, this is a real thing. Like, in order to meet more clients and do business development, you have to start developing these relationships, and take it out of the networking scene and just do one-on-ones. And so I will continue to send that message to the important people. I could do it, but I feel like I'm not important enough. I guess
you just use the buddy system. Then it's like, if there's someone who's like introverted and sort of nervous about doing it, but they sort of have the, I guess like hierarchy or leadership level where they should be there, it's like, just bring someone else who's comfortable and talkative, and maybe that means you just like go on those calls with people so that they feel. But I feel like I never do that stuff alone. I'm like, even as like a pretty extroverted person, I'm like, I don't want to meet somebody for the first time by myself. Like, Rachel, come with me.
Yeah, we always have a buddy system. I feel like we've been doing more kind of outreach too on the graphics and like branding side too. And I feel like, buddy system, going to like, there's like a few happy hours that we're planning on attending too, that like, you got to have that buddy in order to, although actually, let me take a step back. So speaking of like the Rebel conference, I would say sometimes not having a buddy as an introverted person sometimes becomes more relevant, because there was one time I went to the Rebel like workshop day and I didn't know anyone there, and I was just like alone. Christy was there, but she was like helping manage some of the workshops, so she was doing more like administrative stuff, so not like a buddy to stand and help introduce me to people. But I ended up just like standing awkwardly near this one girl that she was also there alone, and I probably wouldn't have spoken to her otherwise if I had like a friend there to chat with. And she became like one of my closest friends, and like started a book club, and now 3 of the people on this call are all in that book club. And like, there's some benefits of going and like kind of putting yourself out there. That's maybe a little bit more like socially as opposed to networking, but just one anecdote, I guess.
No, I totally agree. I feel like having an event maybe that you go to at least once a quarter, that you go by yourself, or maybe, once or twice a year that you go alone. I would say make it a smaller event, maybe. Sometimes going to like really big events by yourself can be a little bit isolating. But I totally agree, because I went to Rebel actually by myself went for November, and I feel like there's been a couple other like common house happy hours and stuff I've gone to by myself. It's definitely forced me to I met so many more people than I probably would have if like one of my coworkers who I enjoy hanging out with, and I would probably just talk to them and hang out and only be like one other person. But yeah, so are there any other like topics you guys wanted to ask about or anything before we wrap up? It's almost 1 o'clock, so I know that you guys have busy days. I don't want to, I could talk about this stuff all day, but I just wanted to sort of open it up if you guys had any specific questions that we didn't cover.
I guess just one question about the Rebel conference. Like, is that a yearly thing that happens, or, and just a little bit more information about it, I guess.
Yeah, I think they actually host it twice a year. I think they do a spring and a fall, and it's been virtual, but they just did one in person in November. So you can go on their website and like, I think they have an email list where they send out stuff about events coming up, but they do a really nice like collection of small events, virtual events, and the sort of twice a year conferences. And it's most of their smaller events I would say are pretty affordable. The conference I think is more like, I don't know, in the 250 range, but it's honestly like a steal compared to like based on the types of speakers they bring in. Like they really, really, really do an exceptional job of programming. Like I think they pull in some of the best speakers of any conference I've ever been to in Richmond. Like it's really, really well done. And it's like beautiful and aesthetic and Instagrammable and all those other like fun things that not every association, sort of like cares about that stuff.
Yeah.
We always really appreciate that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Sweet. Well, I think what we're going to do is probably do our next Clubhouse in February. Like I was mentioning before, we were talking with Ad Club about maybe collaborating with them and doing an in-person event. So if you want to get on our newsletter list, it's in the footer of our website. Maybe somebody Chelsea or Vaishon, maybe want to drop the link to our website. If you get on our email list, we'll definitely let you know about that event. We'll put a recording of today's Clubhouse on YouTube, and that'll be on our website. And if you guys have any thoughts or like feedback or stuff you want us to cover, people you want us to bring in, this is really kind of like an evolving sort of thing. And we want it to just sort of support our local design community and regional design community. It doesn't have to be just about being in Richmond, but it's been really fun to sort of just talk face to face with folks that we see on Instagram and on the internet more, and create relationships and sort of help each other grow. So thank you guys so much for coming, and hopefully maybe we'll see you in February.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good weekend.
Bye.